Ready to discover new music? Midwest Music Fest is heading back to La Crosse at 6 indoor venues, all located right downtown on November 3rd and 4th. With over 60 bands, you're sure to discover new music you'll love. Tickets are on sale now at MidwestMusicFest.org. Prevention is the key to a healthy life. That's why Gunderson Health encourages you to learn about vaccines and how they can help you and your loved ones stay healthy. Vaccines protect against preventable diseases and viruses by boosting your body's defenses. Visit GundersonHealthFacts.com to learn more. The Sandbars Storytelling Festival promotes the art of storytelling for all ages. Enjoy exciting performances throughout this 3-day festival, October 12th through the 14th in Winona, Minnesota. Find out why the returning headliner, Bill Lepp, is back by popular demand. Get your tickets at sandbarstorytellingfestival.org. We had a conversation with Andrew Temte about his second book, The Balanced Business. During our chat, we explored the book's purpose, its target audiences, the advice it offers to new entrepreneurs, insights for thought leaders, Andrew's Saturday morning muse, and the common experience of feeling self-doubt when starting a business. You can find more interviews like this at lacrosselocal.com. I'm Amy.
And I'm Brent.
And this is La Crosse Local.
We've had you on a number of times, number of iterations for your band, The Remainders, to Winter Roots, your involvement with that, but also your first book, Balancing Act. And now you got a second book, The Balanced Business. Why write this book? What was the need you're kind of feeling?
Yeah, well, the first book, Balancing Act, is really the what and the why of many balancing acts that we play both personally and professionally in our lives. The arc of that book ended with a focus on the balancing act between organizational trust and accountability, meaning we want to get along. We want to have a great culture where we're all having fun at work. And again, we all trust each other, but at exactly the same time, we got to get stuff done. Mm-hmm. And those two things can be at odds with one another. So what I did in the second book is really create a how-to guide, how to appropriately balance organizational trust with accountability. And the mechanism that I use to accomplish that is the concept of smooth workflow, organizational flow, everybody knowing what everybody else is doing, and handoffs are smooth. So the first book was the what and the why. The second book is the how.
So just looking at this book now, and you gave some copies to me for both of them, like you said, building organizational trust and accountability through smooth workflows, but also like, who's the audience for this book? I know just reading through these and paging through them, it seems like I could relate to it in a sense as maybe potentially working for a business, but it's really kind of for managers in a sense as well. But there is an audience for every individual who's reading it.
Yeah, it's the audience. The first and foremost is the C-suite of an organization that's of a size anywhere between 25 people and 5,000. The really big companies out there, the Apples, Microsofts, Googles, etc., they're too far gone. That ship is pointed in a direction, and moving that ship is hard. But in terms of dollar size of the business, anywhere between 5-6 million all the way up to $1.5 billion. That's the audience in terms of the organization that I'm targeting. And then starting with the C-suite, but an individual contributor is going to get a lot from this book. A team leader is going to get a lot from this book. I spent most of my professional career by influencing from the middle and influencing from the upper middle of a very large organization. So in this book, I'm providing a management operating system that you can apply to a team, you can apply to an entire business. So the audience is broad, but everything starts at the top in an organization. And if senior leadership isn't bought in, really any management operating system or leadership concepts are not going to go very far.
So you also have the Balancing Act podcast, interviewing a variety of different thought leaders on the subject. Is there still any surprises that you hear from individuals that you're learning from, or anything in particular that kind of stood out? Because what episode are you on now?
So we just this morning, just before you and I recorded this, we recorded episode 108. So we've passed the 100 episode milestone. I'm very happy about that. But the whole point of that show is to expose our listeners to voices that they otherwise wouldn't hear from, and expose them to businesses that you otherwise probably wouldn't know about. My guest this morning was a certified water treatment specialist running a really successful business down in the Atlanta area. So we talked about water treatment, but you asked a very specific question about my guests and what they have to say. What I'm surprised about is the uniformity of the challenges that business leaders face, and the balancing acts, irrespective of industry, that folks are facing. And coming back to this balancing act between trust and accountability, and providing people the autonomy and the flexibility that they want and need in their jobs, with the need to be productive and getting things done. That balancing act comes up over and over and over again. People versus profits is one that I hear a lot about. And the elixir is almost always some type of education.
In a sense, you're basically saying that some of these tools are just like overlaying in each. It doesn't matter what type of business you're in or channel. It can be, you see this across all these different ones, no matter if it's cars or vehicles or tech or anything like that.
Yeah, I was reconnecting with an old friend over video, and we were talking about some of the perennial challenges in the world of work, and the topic of organizational chaos, and almost planned organizational chaos. How some individuals, they like being firefighters. They wrap themselves in a warm, fuzzy blanket of unknown handoffs, ad hoc rules. I'm the only one that knows how to do this. None of this is written down. Things just kind of happen. That becomes this nice, fuzzy job security blanket that folks wrap themselves up in. And that's what I'm actively working against here with the balanced business. But that concept of this warm, fuzzy blanket of organizational chaos and firefighting, that is systemic across. I don't care what company you're in. I can talk to a leader. We talk about that concept. They close their eyes and they go, yep, I can think of off the top of my head 5 people right now who are doing exactly that.
Why do you think individuals like that succeed, though, and get to this point?
Well, it's a really good question.
If it doesn't work,
it doesn't work because you can be, as an organization, you can be so much better. But what stands in folks' way, what stands in business leaders' way, is time. And they convince themselves that the work that's necessary to develop effective job role process mapping, standard work, documentation for how the work is done, so that you have backups, so that you have smooth workflows, so that everyone else knows what everybody else is doing. Brent, goal setting is hard. Annual goal setting is really hard work. Determining the purpose of your organization, the vision of your organization, that takes real effort. And an old friend of mine, he looked at me one day and he said, Andy, people are just fundamentally lazy. And while I bristled at that when he said it, there is this tendency toward comfort and comfortability. And that which is difficult gets put on the back burner many times. And the difficult work in business is process mapping, ensuring documentation, ensuring that everybody knows what everybody else is doing, communication, effective communication, multiple modalities, say it 7 different ways. That's all really, really hard work that people just don't, at the end of the day, don't want to or not are not interested in engaging in.
So also just like inspiring as well. It seems like you could put the process in, but if you're not as a manager inspiring those individuals to take up that role, it could be a difficult sort of a pathway.
Organizational chaos just weighs on teams and just presses down on engagement. Some of your listeners are going to really connect with this. After a while, you just become numb. You become complacent. It's the way that it's always been done. Why fight it? I tried once back in 1979 to change how things are, and I got the smackdown, and I'm never doing it again. I mean, these are real issues that I would challenge every leader that every individual contributor that's listening to this right now has heard some version of that in their career, if they're not living it right now.
So one other component I see you pumping out quite a bit is your Saturday morning muse, where you kind of share these thoughts and ideas, kind of a short format on Saturdays. What was the impetus for that? Was that just kind of like trying to get some content out there? What are you doing on these Saturdays with these different muses that you're putting out there?
Yeah, discipline is an incredibly important part of the business world. And the Saturday Morning Muse is a fun, light way for me to maintain the discipline of writing and content creation. Every Monday I wake up, I've got a list of previous topics that I've thought about. And on Tuesday and Wednesday, I spend an hour or so writing whatever the thing is that I want to talk about, get my thoughts really structured, and then I shoot the video. But it keeps me fresh, it keeps me focused, it keeps me disciplined. And hopefully there's an audience on the other side of that that's looking at it and saying, oh, yeah, thanks for sharing that small piece of information today. And over time, then I'm collecting bits of information that will form the basis potentially for another book or for a course or all this content. There's a method to my madness.
No, I could completely understand that. And do you feel like in a way you recently kind of moved on from your position at your last gig, the big business at Kaplan, but is it like starting over for you in some sense? Like, how does it feel to be at like trying to create this brand around your books and the podcast and the muses? Is it exciting, but is it also like something like, will it catch on as a business? And I'm sure you're used to this. It's like, where are you at in that? Do you have self-doubt in it sometimes?
Oh, I have self-doubt all the time. Imposter syndrome runs wild, right? And many people are weighed down by imposter syndrome. I don't belong. Why am I here? What am I doing? Nobody wants to listen to me. All of that self-doubt prevents many individuals from doing the kinds of things that I'm doing, but it affects me just as much or potentially more than others that self-doubt has stopped from getting themselves out there. I'm a deep introvert by my nature. I am not built for being in a room and shaking everybody's hand. I have to be really comfortable with the environment before I put myself out there. So this new gig for me is both really scary and fortunately, a natural extension of what I was doing previously in my role as Chief Executive Officer of Kaplan Professional, because I was there to teach, coach, mentor, and hopefully inspire individuals all day, every day. That was at the top of my standard work. So taking that element of my standard work and using my experience as a teacher from way back in the day as a finance professor and a graduate student, this at the same time feels very natural to me and an extension of what I was doing before, but also very scary because there are leadership and management consultants all over the world. So what do I have to say that's going to be earth shattering or massively different or new? I think I have it, but it will be up to the consuming public to make the final determination of that.
You kind of laid out a number of things that was really valuable for business owners. We were kind of talking about early, but I think before we were recording, just about just doing the work, getting up every day. People always say doing the grind. Do you have advice for early business owners that are maybe in that transitional period of, money's coming in, their projections out there, they're hitting some goals? Do you have any sort of advice for those early folks that are just kind of getting started?
Yeah. Oh, so much. You probably only want one, so I'll just give you one, which is get out of your own way and know when to get out of your own way. What I mean by that is too many sole proprietors and new business leaders that they want to achieve scale, they want to grow, they want to get bigger, but at exactly the same time, they've convinced themselves that they're the only ones that can do X, Y, or Z, and they're unwilling or unable to delegate, trust, and hire individuals who need to fall down once or twice, and providing the room and space for that growth of a team and other individuals that you are placing your trust in as an entrepreneur to help you grow and succeed. Boy, that's a really, really tough transition to make, and one that unfortunately many people fail to grasp the importance of, and then they hit the wall and either give up or go off and try to do something else.
So kind of switching gears, well, you just did a big show at Moon Tunes for the Remainders. Is that another sort of thing you're kind of developing? It seems like you're doing a lot of video recently. What's going on with the band? You taking a break, or you going to kick something off? Or that's always been your baby in a sense, right?
Yeah. So 2024 is the 20th anniversary of the Remainders. So we are very proud to be able to support our community through events like Moon Tunes, big collaborations where we're filling the park that have a purpose. They are meeting a need in the community. Oktoberfest, Riverfest, and the events that we do for Boys and Girls Club and Hunger Task Force, etc. We want to continue that. But you're right, we are testing new waters. We've written over the last couple of years with my son Nick, who is the creative director of Skills Owl. He and I are writing original music, publishing it under the band name, so you can go out on Spotify and find the Remainders. We've got 4 original songs now. Soon we just decided that September the 27th will be the release of our 5th song. So slowly but surely we're getting some new music out there. It's a labor of love, it's a passion, it's a brotherhood, and I don't know what life would be like without it, but I don't want to know.
Well, it always seems like you're staying busy. So for all, these different projects, the band, everything, where can people follow along?
The Balanced Business comes available on Amazon and in bookstores all around the country on October the 3rd. We're super excited about that. You can go to andrewtemte.com, ANDREWTEMTE.com, and find out all things Andrew Temte. The Remainders is The Remainders onestring.com, and you can find out more about the band there, or on Facebook or Instagram. So we're kind of all over the place.
Well, that's awesome. I appreciate every time you take the time to chat with me.
Thank you so much for having me on the show, Brent.
Lacrosse Local Podcast is a production of River Travel Media. Do you have an interview idea you'd like to share with us? Message us on Facebook at Lacrosse Local. Find out more about us at lacrosselocal.com, and you can subscribe to the Lacrosse Local Podcast on your favorite podcast app. If you like us, rate us 5 stars. We appreciate it.